Sure.
Good afternoon, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Troman, is anyone signed up for public comment? Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Ms. Miller.
Good afternoon, sir.
No cases to reconsider on agenda item 3.
Correct, no cases.
Got it. Have you suggested any kind of walk-up music that we could use when you make your trek from the bleachers up to the podium?
I'll think about it.
Give that all due consideration.
Something Texas theme would be nice. Stars
I'm gonna let you.
deep in the heart of Texas.
I'm gonna let you make the recommendation. All right. Take it away on tax liability cases under agenda item 4.
Yes. For the record, Hugh Daniel, Special Program Appeals. There's one tax liability case on docket 8. The case is TD-23-033-1023. Commissioner Esparza.
I agree with staff recommendations that the motion to withdraw the Rule 13 request should be granted.
Commissioner Trevino.
Agree with staff recommendation.
Agree with
Okay.
that recommendation.
Daniel, thank you very much. That concludes the tax liability cases on this docket.
Thank you. No fair housing cases under agenda item 5, no child labor cases under agenda item 6, under agenda item 7. We have no wage claim cases pulled on docket 8.
That's correct. None pulled for additional discussion, but you should have received the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 8.
I'll move to accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on docket 8.
I second the motion, except for those cases on which I am dissenting as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 8.
I agree with the chairman's motion, except for the cases in which I'm dissenting, as reflected in the wage claim short form dissent list for docket 8.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Let's move to agenda item 8, consideration of unemployment insurance cases. Please proceed when you're ready.
The first two cases will be called together. 3166249, 3166265, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision is supportable, is not supportable based on the evidence currently available. As it stands, the record contains conflicting evidence. On the one hand, the employer's payroll service reported wages for the claimant during the weeks at issue in this case. Those wages may have been used to establish eligibility for a subsequent initial claim. And the claimant on a previous occasions indicated that she received the pay, but have used it to pay third parties or handle the costs of business. On the other hand, the claimant has denied cashing the checks, and what appears to be a document from the employer's payroll services indicates that the payments in question were voided. The record is unclear, so I believe we should hold a rehearing to settle the following questions. Question 1, did the claimant actually receive paychecks for the weeks in question? Question 2, were there any of the paychecks deposited by the claimant and the money used for any purposes, whether on her own behalf or behalf of the business? If so, which ones? Question 3, were any of the paychecks voided or returned to the company's payroll account? If so, which ones? And the final question, did the employer pay UI taxes on the payments? And if so, have those taxes been refunded? Representative of the tax department should testify about the employer's attempt to file amended wage reports. In addition, the employer's payroll service should be subpoenaed to give testimony as to what actually happened with the paychecks in question. One rehearing may suffice for all 5 companion cases. Once that additional evidence is in record, this case and its companion should be resubmitted to the commission for final decisions. Finally, since the wage records for the initial claim dated April 19th, 2020, and the initial claim dated July 18th, 2021 fundamentally conflict as to whether wages were reported by this employer during the last 3 quarters of 2020 and the first quarter of 2021, a memo should be sent to the UIA and OS to resolve the conflicting wage records from the employer for those calendar quarters.
Just 1 minute, man. Ms. Miller, I'm going to go ahead and agree with Commissioner Esparza on all 5 cases.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Chairman, we have a majority vote to rehear,
You've got a majority vote?
and you agree?
No.
Okay. We will rehear the case, however. And this particular call was for the 2 cases, 3166249 and 3166265. Just to be technically correct, we'll need to repeat the essentials for the next set of cases. Please call them.
The next 3 cases will be 3411069, 3411108, 3411119.
And Commissioner Esparza.
The record just, as with the companion cases on this docket, the AT decision in this case is not supportable based on the evidence currently available. Just as with the companion cases, we should hold a rehearing to settle the following questions. Same questions. 1, did the claimant actually receive paychecks for the weeks in question? 2, were any of the paychecks deposited by the claimant and the money used for any purpose, whether on her own behalf or behalf of the business? If so, which ones? 3rd question, were any of the paychecks voided or returned back to the company's payroll account? If so, which ones? Finally, did the employer pay UI taxes on the payments? And if so, have those taxes been refunded? Representative of the tax department should testify about the employer's attempt to file amended wage reports. In addition, the employer's payroll service should be subpoenaed to give testimony as to what actually happened with the paychecks in question. Once the additional evidence is in record, the case should be resubmitted to the commission for final decision.
Again, Ms. Miller, I'll agree with Commissioner Esparza on all those cases.
Thank you. Is your vote the same, sir? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
We will rehear the 5 cases and resubmit them on a future docket.
Case number 3482312, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be reversed. The AT ruled that notice of application for benefits was sent to a correct address. The employer's business was closed and it had not completed mail forward with the USPS. However, the employer testified that a post office worker chose to keep the employer's important mail at the post office and did not return any items. Moreover, the employer's timely appeal states that its forwarding order submitted to the post office was never processed. As such, the employer's late protest can be attributed to problems the employer experienced receiving its mail from the U.S. Postal Service. Accordingly, we should reverse the AT decision, timely employer protest, resubmit.
The AT decision is correct. The employer filed a late protest to the notice of initial claim because they failed to update their change of address with the commission after closing the business on 9/30/22. The employer admitted that it submitted its protest 8 days late. Since there is no good cause exception to the timeliness rules, the AT decision deeming the employer's response late should be affirmed. Affirm the AT late employer protest.
Affirm the AT late protest.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3483225, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be modified. Claimant was discharged for making inappropriate comments at the workplace. The employer also testified that the claimant had been warned previously about similar incidents and was informed that future violations could result in termination. Nonetheless, an employee reported to the employer that the claimant had made unwanted sexual comments to another employee. After investigating, the employer concluded that the claimant had engaged in inappropriate conversations with multiple employees. Given the detailed nature of the comments described by the employer in file documents, the employer's evidence should be given greater weight than the claimant's denial. We should therefore modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate employer response.
The AT decision is not supportable. The employer terminated the claimant based on allegations that he made inappropriate comments directed towards other employees. The employer failed to present any firsthand testimony regarding the claimant's conduct, despite being given the opportunity to do so at the rehearing. The claimant denied the allegations made against him and presented credible sworn testimony that other employees made inappropriate comments directed towards him. Therefore, the employer has failed to meet its burden of proving that the claimant was terminated for misconduct connected with the work. reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback, void adequate response.
No misconduct, chargeback, void adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3486613, Commissioner Sparsa.
Ma'am, my apologies. Can we go back to that 3843225?
Yes, sir.
Was the chairman saying no misconduct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, please, short form dissent.
Yes, sir. So back to 3486613.
Thank you. We should modify the AT decision. First, I agree with the AT's findings on the validity of the claim and reasonable assurance issues. Concerning the job separation, the employer attempted multiple times via email and in person to contact the claimant about her contract for the following school term. The claimant admitted that she ignored all emails sent to her over a 2-month period. If the claimant believed that she did not need to sign a new contract, she should have communicated this to the employer. Instead, by intentionally choosing to disregard the employer's many contact requests, the claimant gave the employer the reasonable impression that she was quitting. In the absence of evidence establishing good cause to quit, the claimant's disqualification is appropriate. We should modify the AT decision, valid claim, voluntary leaving, reimbursing employer not billed. The claimant did not have reasonable assurance, adequate employer response.
Did you say did not have reasonable assurance?
The claimant, yes, ma'am. The claimant did not have reasonable assurance.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant signed a 2-year teaching contract with the employer in the fall of 2021 for the 2021-2022 and 2022-2023 school years. Therefore, when the claimant received a contract via the employer's online system in the spring of 2022, she did not sign it as she had already signed the contract for the 2022-2023 school year. The employer failed to establish that the claimant was aware that she had to sign the contract every year. Since the claimant's belief that she did not need to sign a new contract, since she had already signed a contract covering the same period, was reasonable, the claimant was discharged for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, valid claim, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer, no reasonable assurance. However, I could also agree to rehear this case to question the parties regarding why the claimant would have to sign an annual contract if she had a 2-year contract covering the same time period, and whether the claimant was aware of that requirement.
Valid claim, voluntary leaving, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response, no reasonable assurance, disqualification.
Just to confirm the vote, Mr. Chairman, did you qualify or disqualify the claimant?
I can't hear you.
Did you qualify or disqualify the claimant?
It's voluntary leaving, they're disqualified.
Disqualified. Yes, sir.
Okay, short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Case number 3495437, Commissioner Sparsa.
Thank you. We should reverse the AT decision. The employer, the only party to attend the AT hearing specified that the claimant was separated for performance-related concerns. Although the claimant was afforded training and was instructed to attend the employer's mandatory performance-related meetings, the claimant refused to adhere to the employer's instructions. Since the claimant's performance deficiencies arose from failing to follow employer instructions and not participating in available training, she mismanaged her position of employment. As such, we should reverse the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is supportable. The claimant was discharged because she was unable to adequately perform her job duties. The claimant never received any written warnings about her job performance, and she was unable to meet the employer's expectations. Therefore, the claimant's inability to meet the employer's performance standards, along with the fact that the claimant never previously demonstrated an ability to meet the employer's standards, is not misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
No misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3501-024, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not correct. There was an extensive delay in more than a year from when the claimant filed his initial appeal and the scheduling of the AT1 hearing. Due to this extensive delay in scheduling the AT hearing, the claimant established good cause for missing the hearing. Regarding the timeliness issue, the claimant had been working for 6 months and was not expecting to receive unemployment documents from the commission. Since the claimant returned to work and the commission supports those who prioritize getting back to work, the claimant's appeal should be deemed timely. Reverse the AT, claimant established good cause for AT1, timely claimant appeal, resubmit for a summary of the merits.
Should modify the AT decision. I don't contest that the claimant established good cause for his non-appearance. Regarding the timeliness issue, the claimant's appeal was 1 month late. As such, we do not have jurisdiction to consider the underlying merits. We should modify the AT decision. The claimant had good cause for his non-appearance, untimely claimant appeal, earnings adjustment overpayment of $521.
Claimant established good cause for AT1, timely claimant appeal, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3507-915, Commissioner Sparsa.
We should modify the AT decision. I don't contest the AT's ruling on the reasonable assurance issue. Concerning the job separation, the claimant had acknowledged the terms of the employer's performance development plan and was aware that violation of the plan could result in non-renewal of her employment contract. The claimant was separated when she failed to follow the instructions within her PDP and was observed behaving in an unprofessional manner with her students. Since the claimant was provided directives, including but not limited to proper classroom management and professionalism at the workplace, the claimant's violation of the employer's rule was mismanagement of her position of employment. As such, we should modify the AT decision, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response. The claimant did not have reasonable assurance.
The decision is correct. The claimant resigned in lieu of discharge. The employer moved to discharge the claimant based on continued performance issues during her first year working as a probationary teacher. The claimant gave credible firsthand testimony that she worked to the best of her ability to comply with all the employer's instructions. The employer only presented secondhand testimony regarding the alleged performance shortcomings by the claimant. Since the evidence established that the claimant never consistently met the employer's performance expectations during her probationary period, the claimant was not discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer, no reasonable assurance.
The parties were not questioned on the discrepancy as to whether or not the claimant completed the terms of the performance plan, which is material evidence needed to make a supportable decision. Rehear for evidence of the final incident.
I support the chairman.
We will rehear the case.
Thank you.
Case number 3534-041, Commissioner Sparsa.
The AT decision is not supportable. The employer offered credible and consistent evidence of non-receipt of the initial determination via electronic correspondence. The determination that the employer had filed a late protest was sent out during the height of the pandemic of May 6, 2020, a time during which the employer's restaurant was closed due to public orders. And it is understandable that the employer did not have a reasonable opportunity to get the determination. Once it found out about the chargeback to its account, the company filed an appeal. Accordingly, we should hold the employer's appeal timely and resubmit the case on the merits of the late protest and work separation issues.
The decision is correct. The employer did not file an appeal to the 5/7/20 determination until over a year after the appeal deadline. The determination was electronically delivered to the employer, and the employer did not provide any explanation for their late appeal that falls into the exception to the timeliness rules. Therefore, the employer's appeal is properly dismissed as late. Affirm the AT, late employer appeal, initial determination left in full force and effect.
Timely protest, resubmit.
There's a threshold issue of timeliness of appeal before we can get to timeliness of protest.
Okay, then the appeal was timely too.
All right, so your vote is that both were timely.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna support the chairman again.
Yes, sir. The majority vote is the appeal was timely and the protest was also timely.
Are you gonna rehear that case or?
I don't believe the claimant invited to that. Let me see the. One moment while I check. There's no rehear voted so far. It appears the claimant did not participate in the lower authority hearing.
Okay, so there will not be a rehearing on this one?
No, sir. Not,
Okay.
not at this point unless it's ordered.
Okay, man. I'll short form dissent.
Thank you. And we'll continue with the next case, which is 3540892. Commissioner Trevino.
Yes, ma'am. The AT decision is not supportable. The employer discharged the claimant for allegedly leaving children unsupervised in the classroom. The claimant provided credible and consistent firsthand testimony denying the employer's assertion that she abandoned the classroom, and the claimant denied that any of the children were left unattended. The employer failed to provide any evidence or meet its burden of proof that the claimant violated the employer's policy or any state of Texas regulations, which prohibit children from being left unattended. Therefore, the employer did not meet or did not establish that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, charge back, void adequate response.
We should modify the AT decision. The claimant admitted to stepping out of her classroom to speak to the assistant director. Because the employer had a zero tolerance policy about leaving children unattended, the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. We should modify the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback, sever the adequate response issue.
Misconduct, no chargeback, sever adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3541579, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be reversed on good cause. While dutifully registering for the AT hearing, it appears as though the employer inadvertently transposed 2 digits of its callback number and was unable to participate in the hearing. The employer provided good cause testimony that it was ready to participate had it been reached. As such, the employer made a good faith effort to participate in the hearing and should be granted good cause for its non-appearance. We should therefore reverse the AT decision. The employer had good cause for its non-appearance, resubmit.
The AT decision should be modified. The employer did not appear at the first hearing because they provided an incorrect phone number to the commission. This was a circumstance that was entirely within the employer's control, and therefore the employer has failed to establish that they had good cause for their failure to appear at the AT1. Regarding the job separation, the claimant quit after she repeatedly complained to the employer about the working conditions and no action was taken. The claimant had been told that she could not take her approved lunch break until coverage was provided, but no coverage was ever provided to her for several days to allow her to take her approved break. Since the claimant addressed her concerns with the employer and the employer did not correct the issue with the working conditions, the claimant had good cause connected with the work for quitting. Modify the AT, employer did not establish good cause for AT1. No voluntary leaving, chargeback.
Employer did not establish good cause, no misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Commissioner Trevino, did you say no voluntary leaving?
Correct.
All right. And Mr. Chairman, you said no misconduct.
That's correct.
So
I'll agree with the chairman.
no misconduct will be the majority vote.
Thank you, ma'am.
And
Second. Short form dissent.
yes, sir.
Case number 3550494, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant was separated from work due to absenteeism. However, since the claimant's final absence were due to illness, the claimant should be qualified for benefits. But the employer's account should be protected under a medical separation analysis. We should therefore modify the AT decision to misconduct, no chargeback, VMI. Excuse me, no misconduct, no chargeback, VMI.
Yes, sir.
The decision is not correct. The claimant called out sick for 2 days. On the third day, before the claimant could call in sick again, his supervisor called him and asked where he was. The claimant told the supervisor that he was still sick, but that he would planned on returning the following day. The supervisor told the claimant not to return to work until the supervisor spoke to the owner. But the supervisor would call him back later. The supervisor never called the claimant back, and when the claimant called the owner a couple of days later, the owner informed the claimant that the supervisor reported that the claimant had quit. Since the employer initiated the work separation, but without providing a reason for the separation, the claimant was discharged without a showing of any misconduct. Therefore, we should reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback. However, since the job separation occurred when it did due to the claimant being out sick from work, I could agree to the modifying the AT, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
No misconduct, chargeback.
Short form dissent.
Just to clarify, your alternative vote was no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI, correct?
That's correct.
And that was also your alternative vote?
Yes, ma'am. No misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
We have a majority vote of MVI, no chargeback, no misconduct, MVI. So did you wish to?
Short
defend?
form dissent.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Case number 3566013, Commissioner Esparza.
We should modify the AT decision. Although I emphasize with the claimant's health condition, the employer's testimony specified that they had continually adhered to the claimant's request for work accommodations. Although the employer was willing to assist the claimant to provide work accommodations, the claimant resigned based on her belief that the offered accommodations were not adequate to meet her needs. Since the claimant was offered various accommodations but resigned prior to effectively communicating her needs or allowing the employer to remedy her concerns, the claimant's separation was voluntary without work-connected good cause. As such, we should modify the AT decision to voluntary leaving, reimbursing employer not billed, sever adequate employer response.
The decision is not correct. The claimant had several medical conditions and a doctor required her to work under certain medical accommodations. The claimant attempted to return to work, but the employer could not meet the required accommodations. The claimant consulted with her doctor about what accommodations the employer could offer, but the doctor told her that the employer's alternatives were not sufficient given her medical condition at the time. Therefore, the claimant had good cause connected with the work to quit, since the employer could not adequately meet her doctor's accommodation requirements. Reverse CAT, no voluntary leaving, bill reimbursing employer, set aside adequate response.
No voluntary leaving, bill reimbursing employer, void adequate response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir. And that was the last unemployment insurance case pulled for additional discussion on docket 8. You should have received the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 8.
I second the motion except for those cases in which I am dissenting, as reflected on the UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I am dissenting, as reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 8.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted.
Thank you.
Thank you. This brings us to the end of agenda item 8. Let's take a short recess. All right, this is agenda item 9, Texas Foster Youth Network Initiative funding.
Good morning, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Townsend. For the record, I'm Joel Mullins with the Workforce Development Division. On September 11th, 2023, the commission approved $3 million in Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funds and $1 million in temporary assistance for needy family funds to create a Texas Foster Youth Network. These funds will support the development of a statewide network composed of organizations whose missions include providing services and support to foster youth and former foster youth. Staff believe the program will be better supported if solely funded through WIOA statewide funds. This morning, staff recommends the addition of $1 million in WIOA statewide funds to the Texas Foster Youth Network Initiative to replace the previously approved TANF funds. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
No question.
None here.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move we approve the addition of $1 million in WIOA statewide funds to the Texas Foster Youth Network Initiative to replace the previously approved TANF funds to ensure the network is fully funded at the level previously approved by the commission.
A second.
For move second, motion carried. So agenda item 10, proposed rule for 40 Tech Chapter 811 choices.
Yes, for the record, I'm Joel Mullins with Workforce Development. Commissioners, before you today for your consideration for approval are proposed rule amendments to Chapter 811 choices. These proposed amendments will amend Chapter 811 to align with current federal requirements and will update rule language to conform with present terminology. Staff recommends submitting the proposed rule for publication in the Texas Register for a 30-day public comment period. Staff also requests the ability to make minor non-substantive changes to the document in order to comply with the publication requirements of the Texas Register and the Office of Secretary of State. That's all I have, and happy to answer any questions.
Comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the proposal of amendments to 40 Texas Administrative Code Chapter 811 choices for publication in the Texas Register and public comment as recommended today by staff.
I second.
Motion carries. This is agenda item 11, proposed rule for 40 Tech Chapter 843 job matching services.
Good afternoon, Chairman Daniel, Commissioner Trevino, Commissioner Esparza, and Mr. Townsend. For the record, I'm Shirley Jones with the Workforce Division. Commissioners, before you today for consideration for approval are proposed rule amendments to Chapter 843, Job Matching Services. These proposed amendments will amend references to veteran preference for public employment to military employment preference, in accordance with changes to Texas Government Codes Chapters 656 and 657, resulting from the passage of Senate Bill 1376 by the 88th Texas Legislature regular session. Also, Texas Government Code Section 2001.039 requires that every 4 years, each state agency review and consider for readoption, revision, or repeal each rule adopted by that agency. TWC reviewed the chapter as part of the proposed rule in accordance with the statutory requirement. Staff recommends submitting the proposed rule for publication in the Texas Register for a 30-day public comment period. Staff also requests the ability to make minor, non-substantive changes to the document in order to comply with the publication requirements of the Texas Register and the Office of the Secretary of State. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions or comments?
None here.
No questions, sir.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move we approve the proposal of the amendments to 40 Texas Administrative Code, Chapter 843, Job Matching Services for publication in the Texas Register and public comment as recommended today by staff.
I second.
Been moved second, motion carries. Thank you. This is agenda item 12, board nominations.
Good afternoon, Chairman, Commissioners, and Mr. Townsend. For the record, Shonta Williams with the Workforce Development Division. And Commissioners, today for your consideration, we have Workforce Board nominations for Workforce Solutions Alamo, Deep East Texas, Golden Crescent, Gulf Coast, North Texas, Coastal Bend, Rural Capital Area, and Texoma. Staff recommends approval on the presented nominees, and I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Comments or questions?
None here.
No questions.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move we approve the local workforce development board member nominees presented today for the following: Workforce Solutions Alamo, Deep East Texas, Golden Crescent, Gulf Coast, North Texas, Coastal Bend, Rural Capital Area, and Texoma.
My second.
Been moved second, motion carries. So executive director's report today. Not today. This is your chance. Some stuff off your chest.
You usually have good news when it's not here.
It's one of those days, I guess. Is there any other order of business come before the commission?
If I may add, I apologize, if I may add, I'd like to formally open a period of celebration for Kimberly Brown in our office. Her birthday's today, up to 1 month, or in her case, half a year for that celebration purposes. Would also like to thank her for keeping the office together and keeping me in line and moving in one direction. So I appreciate you, Kimberly. Look forward to it. Also have some news for a new staff member, new to me. New to us, Catherine McKee has replaced Bonnie. Bonnie followed former Commissioner Aaron Demerson over to his office. So I also want to express the gratitude of the agency for sharing the resources of such a talented press secretary for the agency. And she's still around. She's just relocated over in our office for the duration. Thank you, guys.
Right, anything else?
Happy birthday and welcome aboard. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.